Alright, so Alex Jones, the right-wing reactionary conspiracy theorist and the host of Infowars, is currently facing a civil trial to determine how much money he is going to have to pay out to some of the parents of the victims of the 2012 Sandy Hook massacre after Alex Jones basically waged a relentless campaign suggesting that it was a false flag operation and got a lot of these parents to have to deal with significant backlash and harassment campaigns and threats of violence and all of that. So this is an original outgrowth of a case that was brought forward a couple of months ago or almost a year ago at this point, where Alex Jones lost it by default because he refused to supply the court with any of the documents that they were trying to get. And so this is basically, not determining whether or not he's guilty. It's just about how much money is he going to have to pay out to these parents. So with that little bit of context added here, let's go ahead and jump into some of these clips. So this first one is basically Alex Jones finding out that his own legal representation committed what is probably like the most egregious fuck up that I have ever heard of in the history of legal cases, because his lawyer accidentally sent the entire contents of his phone to the opposition legal representation. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into this clip of him finding that out for the first time.
Is that your phone number?
Yes. So you did get my text messages, and it said you didn't. Nice trick.
Yes, Mr. Jones.
Oh.
Indeed.
Lawyer literally laughing at him right now.
You didn't give this text message to me. You don't know where this came from. Do you know where I got this?
No.
Mr. Jones, did you know that 12 days ago, your attorneys messed up and sent me an entire digital copy of your entire cell phone with every text message you've sent for the past 2 years, and when informed, did not take any steps to identify it as privileged or protect it in any way. And as of 2 days ago, it fell free and clear into my possession. And that is how I know you lied to me when you said you didn't have a text message about Sandy Hook. Did you know that?
I told you the truth. This is your Perry Mason moment. I gave them my phone, and then...
Mr. Jones, you need to answer the question.
No,
Did you know this happened?
No, I didn't know this happened. But I mean, I told you I gave them the phone over.
Would you mind taking a
Alright, so we're going to pause it here because this is just like a little meme clip that the Surfs added onto the end of this. But okay, so just to explain a little bit of what's happening in that clip, right? So as I explained, his lawyer not only accidentally sent his entire contents of his phone over to the opposition's legal representation, okay? But then he waited 12 days, and during that entire process, he didn't even try to claim any of that information as privileged so that it couldn't be used against Alex Jones. And then on top of that, he didn't even tell Alex Jones about it, leading to him then going up and lying under oath and committing perjury about what the contents of his texts would have revealed. So you have like 5 different layers here of complete fuck-ups by his own legal representation. This is like one of the craziest things that I've ever seen happen in a courtroom. Alex Jones didn't even know that his lawyer had done this, okay? He didn't even bother to tell his own client that he was about to go have to answer to this while he was on the stand, okay? And again, understand, because this is a civil trial, Alex Jones doesn't even need to be here right now, okay? He didn't even have to go up and take the stand. And usually in situations like this, your lawyer will tell you not to, and especially with somebody like Alex Jones, who is just a, relentless lying sociopath, why would you ever think that taking the stand and going and confronting actual evidence would be to your benefit? Why would you think that this was somehow, in the eyes of the jury, going to make you look better? He's just been at every single turn making himself that much worse, making himself, dig a deeper hole in every single turn that he is facing in this trial. So that was just one aspect of this. We also had this clip of the judge basically being fed up with the amount of times that Alex Jones and his legal representation has been violating the rules and straight up lying on the stand. So let's go ahead and watch this clip of this judge explain to Alex Jones basically what perjury is and how he can't just keep lying on the stand.
Mr. Jones, you may not say to this jury that you complied with discovery. That is not true. You may not say it again. You may not tell this jury that you are bankrupt. That is also not true. You may have filed for bankruptcy. I don't know that, but I've heard that. That doesn't make a person or a company bankrupt. You're already under oath to tell the truth. You've already violated that oath twice today in just those two examples. It seems absurd to instruct you again that you must tell the truth while you testify, yet here I am. You must tell the truth while you testify. This is not your show. You need to slow down and not take what you see as opportunities to further the message you're wanting to further. And instead, only answer the specific and exact question you have been asked.
Okay, so just absolutely like excoriating Alex Jones. Okay, this judge has actually been doing a pretty good job of being somewhat fair and balanced given the situation, and really honestly being overly lenient with the amount of times that Alex Jones has just been straight up lying on the stand. But two different things. So there's a number of different things you could say about this. Number one, the two lies that he was just putting forward there. Okay, the first one was about discovery, and she's talking about the previous case that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, where Alex Jones and his team refused to comply with requests for documents, and Alex Jones has been trying to tell the jury basically that he did comply with everything involving discovery, which is just a straight up lie. In fact, the entire reason why he's going to have to pay out a settlement to these people is because he was not complying with the discovery process. But on top of that, with the bankruptcy claim that he's been making, right? Infowars has been trying to claim that they're bankrupt. Basically, he's trying to pull a Michael Scott and just yelling, "I declare bankruptcy," and hoping that like that's how the legal process works or something like that. But he's been claiming that he's bankrupt, which is number one, not true because they haven't officially filed for bankruptcy. And in addition to that, we also know stats like this. I mean, Alex Jones Infowars entire like account with the sales that they make off of their bullshit snake oil things that they're selling on their website, as well as like the ad revenue and all of this. It has been exposed, and I covered this on my channel like almost a year ago at this point when we first found out this information. But there were periods of time where Infowars was bringing in $800,000 per day. Okay, per day. All right, so the idea that Infowars is bankrupt or they don't have enough money to, pay out settlements to these people, it's just complete bullshit. Okay, nobody should buy into that for a single goddamn second. It's just a way for him to try to hide some of his assets and hide a lot of the wealth that they do have, so that that's not subject to being paid out to these parents. So that part of it is complete bullshit. But again, on top of that, this judge is having to sit here and explain to this guy that it's not your fucking show. You can't just go out there and say whatever you want and expect that you're not going to have any pushback against it or any fact checking on it. You have an actual judge here who knows the accuracy of what is being presented in this trial. She's not just going to let you go up there and repeatedly lie about it. So it'll actually be kind of interesting to see if there's like an additional charge brought against him for repeatedly lying under oath and misrepresenting a bunch of different information that was coming forward in this trial. So I kind of hope that they try to get him on lying under oath, as well as all the other things that he's been dealing with. But that was just absolutely like embarrassing that this guy and his lawyer are basically being talked down to by this judge for not even following the most basic rules that they know that they're supposed to be following in court. So now we get onto this clip here, which is basically, so Alex Jones throughout this trial, right? He has actually been doing his own show, right? He's been continuing with the Infowars show, and while he's been doing that, he has been, okay, keep in mind, he is on trial right now facing how much he is going to have to pay out for defamation, all right? And while he's been doing this, he's been doing his own show where he has been defaming the judge of this current trial that he's facing right now. So let's go ahead and see what he's been talking about on a show recently.
Saying, Mr. Jones, that you're taking these court proceedings seriously. You're approaching them in good faith. But the truth of the matter is, you've been broadcasting repeatedly a picture of our judge on fire, haven't you?
Objection compound, Your Honor.
No.
The person on the left of this image is our judge, correct?
Yes.
The person on the right is another judge you don't like, right?
Yes.
Okay. Saying,
Okay, so he is on trial right now with a judge who is going to have significant influence in determining how much he's going to have to pay out to these families. We're talking about potentially $150 million is what the families are asking for. I think they're entitled to every single goddamn penny of it. But while he's doing that, he has his own show that he's doing on a daily basis where he is putting up pictures of the judge of his current trial engulfed in flames. okay? And on top of that, that was only just one small piece of his show, right? There have been other examples. I think that there was one in which he was trying to insinuate that the judge was somehow like connected to a pedophile ring because she had some previous connection to like child protective services or something like that. He insinuated that one of the jurors was like mentally challenged because of the way that he was giving his testimony. So many different aspects of this. It seems like it's just been like almost intentional self-sabotage from both Alex Jones and from his legal representation, which kind of leads me into the last clip that I got lined up here, where basically the opposing legal representation comes out and straight up says that they think that his lawyer, because of how many rules that they've been breaking throughout this trial, might actually be intentionally trying to sabotage this this entire process so that it could go to a mistrial. So let's go ahead and watch a little bit of this clip.
Proceedings, I'm going to have to make that same motion again after talking to Vince over. I don't know if you want me to, how you want to handle that.
I think you should stop making them. That's a joke. Go ahead, put it on the record.
Well, I would move now for a mistrial under CPRC 4111.
Okay, that's denied.
Thank you. I have just some very briefly,
Okay.
Mr. Your Honor. I'd like to raise an objection right now to whatever Your Honor wants to do about it. I'm not moving for a mistrial, but I'm very concerned about a series of things that have just happened. And I want to make sure that everybody in the room is on the same page. Mr. Reynal had told the jury that there was 29 minutes total of Infowars videos. He played 51 minutes in a single video, so we know that's not true. He had tried to tell the jury about Ms. Lewis's testimony about 3 billion page views, that she had testified that it was 3 million individuals, which he explicitly said was not and could not be determined. And in fact, were people returning multiple times, attempted to mislead the witness into thinking that's what she was saying. He has routinely, every single day of this trial, broken rules that a first-year lawyer knows. He has routinely placed inadmissible material in front of the jury. It is from our perspective at this table that Mr. Reynal is actively trying for a mistrial. And obviously we don't want that to happen. We would hope that at this point we could have Mr. Reynal instructed to please follow rules which we all know he very well knows, and to not attempt to sabotage what has happened to the plaintiffs. Otherwise, I want this on the record, and why I was bringing it to you now, because we will be bringing additional motions for sanctions if this continued conduct continues.
All right.
All right, so there you go. I mean, listen, at some point, I do kind of like start to think that this might be the case. It might be the case that his lawyer is just this incompetent, but based on what I've seen so far, it seems like this guy does have a little bit of experience and that he should know better than the types of rules that he's been violating. Like, again, as that guy was just saying, this is like first year shit that even like a newbie lawyer would understand. And yet he's continued in, full speed ahead in the same exact path to, continue violating these rules, continue giving bullshit defenses of Alex Jones. And it comes to a point where you're like, is this guy just actively trying to sabotage the entire trial to try to, get a redo basically, or declare a mistrial on this? It's just, honestly, if that's the case, it's completely pathetic, but I don't think that it would work either. I think that when we get the decision from this case, it's going to show that he has to pay substantial amounts to these families, and it is going to be 100% deserved, because not only was he just a psychopathic liar on his show and getting his supporters to go and harass some of the, parents of these victims of a horrific school shooting, not only was he lying on his show, but then he continues to just relentlessly lie in the courtroom multiple times, even when confronted with it by the opposing legal representation, by the lawyer, just continues in the exact same way. So, I mean, nothing new here from Alex Jones, shouldn't be that surprising, but we also have this piece of information which just came out a couple days ago, which just kind of adds onto the heat that Alex Jones is facing right now. So here from NPR, they say the January 6th committee is asking for data from Alex Jones' phone, a lawyer says. So now not only is he having to deal with this civil trial and potentially having to pay out upwards of $150 million to these families, but also it looks like the January 6th committee is going to be targeting him in some capacity as well. So, I mean, top to bottom, Alex Jones seems to just be completely imploding. I don't think I've ever seen a trial that was that mismanaged by a legal representation, or where the person who is like facing this trial decided to choose to go on the stand and just completely imploded in the way that Alex Jones did.